analysis on the network. And we are pivoting to Connecticut, where the missing mom murder trial continues against defendant Michelle Troconis. She's accused of conspiring with her late boyfriend to murder his estranged wife. Troconis charged with conspiracy to commit murder, tampering with physical evidence, and hindering the prosecution in the murder of Jennifer Dulos, the mother of 5. She was reported missing in May of 2019 after dropping the kids off at school. Her body has never been found. Investigators believe her late husband, Fotis Dulos, killed Jennifer after she returned home from dropping off the kids. Investigators say they captured surveillance video of Fotis and the defendant, Troconis, dumping trash bags that were found to contain Jennifer's DNA. Yesterday, prosecutors received a note regarding the defendant, Michelle Troconis, allegedly displaying sensitive information on her computer screen that could be seen in the gallery. This raised some concerns of the defendant potentially being in contempt of court. Now, today, prosecutors addressed this as well as an issue with the defendant's mother. So let's take a listen to how these arguments played out, as well as the defendant's response.
Judge, we're asking that the defendant's mother be ejected from the remainder of the proceedings. This is not the first time that we have brought an issue concerning the defendant's mother to the court's attention. Now, the first time we brought it up, we did it at sidebar. We indicated that we received information that the defendant's mother was mouthing to the jury. We indicated that we didn't wish to make a spectacle of it. Counsel assured us that they would speak with the mother. And I know that the court recalls that conversation. And now this is the second incident in which the defendant's mother has injected herself into the proceedings in a very inappropriate way. And I'll just indicate, I'm expecting some argument. Well, the Farber family blows kisses at people and makes hearts at people, things of this nature. First I'm hearing of it this morning. And we've spoken with them in the interim. But this is now a second strike for the defendant's mother. And I'm asking that the court eject her from the remainder of the proceedings. Her conduct is inappropriate. And the fact that she tried to prevent the defendant from getting caught by tapping her on the shoulder, and then the YouTube clip you'll see, the defendant immediately takes action with respect to her computer. So I don't make this request lightly, Judge. I have to say I've been practicing law for nearly 15 years, and this is the first time that I think I've ever made such a request. But this is beyond the pale, and I'm asking that the court do something about it, pending the contempt proceeding.
Your Honor, Attorney McGinnis's comments revealed just how highly charged this trial has been and how much emotion there's been in the courtroom. We have taken steps to avoid and ignore any negative interaction and to try to focus on the evidence in this case and on ensuring that the evidence goes before the jury without any interruption. As Your Honor knows, we've talked repeatedly to the media to ensure that they were not able to pick up anything on our computer screens, anything that was on our table of evidentiary value. I have confirmed with them that, in fact, they have taken those steps. They've complied repeatedly and ensured that they've been in compliance with the court's orders. As far as if we are addressing today, Ms. Troconis' mother being in court, we did talk to her about the allegations last time. We did not know that she was making any inappropriate movements, gestures, signals in any way. And we have no evidence other than a statement from Jennifer Farber Dulos' friends and family that in fact occurred. I do not understand why the state is suggesting that any interaction that Ms. Troconis' mother had with her about putting something on her screen, taking something off of her screen, has to do with avoiding getting caught for something. That's just an inference that doesn't seem to be based on anything that I've heard so far. I know Your Honor is taking up those allegations at another time. However, what I will address right now is the fact that there have been other interruptions and disruptions and comments that have been made in the courtroom galley that we ignored and will continue to ignore. We don't feel the need to put anything on the record. We've addressed it with Your Honor in chambers. I don't know why that needed to be put on the record now, but rest assured, Your Honor, we've taken steps to speak to Michelle Troconis' family, to speak to Michelle, and ensure that there are no further disruptions. Her computer is not here today because I'm not going to be focusing on what somebody has or doesn't have on their computer. We need to listen to the evidence and ensure that what's supposed to come in before the jury comes in and what's supposed to stay out stays out.
Okay, so now let's listen to what Judge Randolph ruled on this, and they're going to break it down on the other side.
This court makes every effort to conduct proceedings in a fair and efficient and dignified manner. This court makes every effort to show counsel and the defendant respect. What the court is not going to countenance are competing pep rallies like you have in high school. The defendant supporters and the state supporters. This is not high school. The court is not going to become a hallway monitor. So if there are efforts to communicate with a jury or a witness, you will be removed. No hearing, just removed. There will be no computer use other than by counsel in the courtroom. There will be no communication with the gallery at any time. There will be no attempts to show your approval or disapproval of a witness's testimony. Or you will be removed. Court is not going to take up a formal contempt hearing today. The court will schedule a contempt hearing at the earliest after the defense rests. That's at the earliest.
Okay, so something kind of dangling there. The other shoe, will it be a contempt hearing? Well, if it's going to be after the defense has rested. So, quite the day in Connecticut there. I've been in that courtroom on the side where Michelle Troconis' mom, Miracela, sits. She's about 6-8 feet behind Michelle, so she can certainly see any laptop there, anything on that laptop. A couple rows back where I'm sitting, I can't read anything, but you can see imagery. So it's interesting. I'm guessing it may have had something to do with the guardian ad litem who took the stand yesterday and had a report about why Michelle Troconis could not see the kids at a certain point in the attempt. Fotis Dulos had to get back with his kids. Anyway, Katherine Lizardo is still here. Brian Buckmeyer has joined the party, and we're going to chat about this very interesting case that's coming to a close. I understand, Brian, on Tuesday, the last of the state's case, and I'm thinking it's going to be Kent Mawhinney, who's the attorney involved and also has a trial coming up soon. Don't know, just my sources. Brian, give me your take on this sidebar issue with the mom and the defendant herself.
Yeah, Michael, I know the judge said this isn't a high school pep rally, where both sides get to go back and forth. But he sounded a lot like a principal, and a very good one at that. A lot of attorneys and judges interpret contempt or removal of court orders as you have to give a notice before you do so. Typically, though, these courtrooms have these rules posted where you cannot communicate with jurors, you cannot pull out a cell phone, things of those nature. But oftentimes, a verbal notice to the court is given first. So I think this is the last straw, that if something of this nature that he's outlined, whether it be laptops, which Michelle Troconis' laptop has now been taken away, she's not using it, or any communication directed to the jury will amount to removal without question or without hearing. I think that affords them that due process and that notice that a hearing would give them, and in essence, it removes them. I think it's a great job. I think it's a straight line rule. Everyone understands it, and we just move on from there.
Yeah, and he always has the opportunity, as this thing plays out, to say, okay, we're not even going to do that. But at least to your point, he's set up the notice issue if he needs to. So, Katherine, it's almost like, well, yeah, you guys did that too, and that's to the judge's point about being some sort of pep rally. It's more about getting called into the vice principal's office. The vice principal is usually the one that does the punishing. So, they're pointing fingers at one another. Maybe they're both doing something wrong. Maybe neither side is doing anything wrong, but it is a major distraction.
It is, and the judge sees that, right? He's sitting right there in front of the gallery. The lawyers are saying that we did not even know that was happening, understandably, because they had their backs to the gallery. So if the judge sees this, he could address it as well, especially if he notices that the jury is getting distracted. And I'm sure it is distracting. Jurors get bored up there with some of the testimony, and they start looking at everyone and everything, and they notice those tiny details, the smirks, the looks, and that interaction between the defendant and her mom. I'm sure they caught that too. So that is distracting and could give a wrong impression to the jury. So I like his admonition here to just go ahead and repeat all of that, although it should have been obvious at the very beginning, but now they know they can be removed without any warning or hearing.
Yeah, and it's an important point you make, that there's a big difference between the jury noticing those kinds of things and somebody in the gallery intentionally trying to communicate with the jury. That's a whole different problem. So we'll see how things go as this thing is winding down, the case against Michelle Troconis. Let's take a break. We'll come back. More right after this. Network, I'm Michael Bryant. We're in week 5 of the prosecution's case out in Stamford, Connecticut for defendant Michelle Troconis. She's accused of helping her late boyfriend Fotis Dulos cover up the murder of his estranged wife, Jennifer Dulos. Jennifer went missing in May of 2019 after dropping the couple's kids off at school and hasn't been found to this day. Prosecutors believe a contentious divorce led Fotis to kill his wife, but Fotis died by suicide before he could be tried on murder charges. As prosecutors continued to present evidence of Michelle Troconis' alleged cover-up, a key witness took the stand on Thursday, Michael Meehan. He was the guardian ad litem for the 5 Dulos children during the couple's divorce. On the stand, he described his communication with Fotis and the defendant, Michelle Troconis. So let's break those highlights down together. Back in 2017, 2 years before Jennifer Dulos went missing, Fotis had a vision in mind for what he wanted the separation to look like. Here's how Meehan described it.
In 2017, did Fotis Dulos ever express to you a desired outcome between himself, Michelle Troconis, Jennifer, and for Jefferson Crossing?
Yes.
What was his desired outcome?
Well, when I met with Mr. Dulos, he had expressed his preferences and what he wanted to see happen at the conclusion of the case, which is ultimately, it was his goal to have everyone live in the house together, that being Ms. Dulos, along with the children, along with Ms. Troconis and her daughter as well.
He indicated he wished Jennifer, Michelle, and all the children reside at Fort Jefferson Crossing?
Correct.
When was that?
That was, I think, early on in one of my first interviews with him, sometime in 17.
So in November of 2017, a parenting plan was in place between the victim, Jennifer Dulos, and Fotis Dulos. Now, in addition to Fotis' visitation rights, the defendant, Michelle Troconis, was allowed to have contact with the Dulos children. 2 months later, in January 2018, that plan changed.
Mr. Dulos had his parenting time suspended by the court.
And what does that mean?
It means simply he was not permitted to have any contact with the children.
And that also includes Michelle Troconis?
Those orders at that time extended to Ms. Troconis as well.
For how long was Fotis Dulos not able to have any contact at all with his children?
There was a period of time for which he had no contact. Contact was gradually reintroduced sometime in the month of February of 2018. And he was able to have then limited supervised contact with the children.
Well, when there was supervised visitation that was scheduled for Fotis Dulos and the children between March 2018 and May 24th, 2019, was Michelle Troconis allowed to have contact with those children?
No.
So if the children were present at 4 Jefferson Crossing between March of 2018 and May 24th of 2019, what would Michelle Troconis and her daughter have to do?
Not be present.
Meehan also discussed a phone call between Fotis Dulos and the defendant in March of 2019, 2 months before Jennifer Dulos disappeared. The phone call surrounded the court order to ban the defendant from seeing the Dulos children.
Mr. Dulos was upset because the court didn't grant immediate access between Michelle Troconis and Nicole and the minor children. Mr. Dulos was concerned and didn't know if he could continue on with the litigation because it was having an adverse effect on his relationship with Michelle. Mr. Dulos repeatedly asked if I could intervene and do something on behalf of the children regarding this issue. I reminded Mr. Dulos, as I have throughout the case, that I do not represent him and am not permitted to act as an advocate for either party. Fotis asked if I could speak to Michelle Troconis. I agreed, and he placed her on the phone. Michelle wanted to know what she had done to cause the court to order that she not be permitted in contact with the children. I informed her that the court's recent decision created a pathway for the parties to start discussing a plan to reintroduce her and Nicole to the children to work with me as GAL. I asked her even if she had ever met or spoke with Jennifer Dulos. She indicated that she hadn't, but would be open to speaking with her or meeting her for coffee to discuss being reintroduced to the children. Michelle indicated that she didn't move here for all this and that she felt badly for the children and Nicole. She believes that they have all been the victim of this litigation. She is also divorced and she doesn't act this way with Nicole's father. Her tone was calm but very down. The conversation lasted about 5 minutes with her. The conversation ended after that.
And the following month, after receiving an evaluation report, Fotis Dulos made a bizarre comment to Meehan about the custody battle.
At some point in April of 2019, did Fotis Dulos indicate that he believed the custody case was going to change in his favor?
Yes.
And when was that?
It would have been sometime after the custody evaluation report was complete.
Would that be around April or May of 2019?
That would have been probably the end of April of 2019, yes.
How did Fotis Dulos react when he read that evaluation report?
I was present with him and his lawyer when he reviewed the report, and he was a combination of emotions, I think. On the one hand, he was encouraged. On the other hand, he was upset and outraged. But ultimately, his concern was he was concerned for the children.
To finish out his direct examination, Meehan describes the call from Fotis Dulos on that fateful day in May 2019.
Today, I received a phone call from Fotis Dulos at 10:26 a.m., who informed me that Jennifer Dulos was missing. He stated to me, "Mike, have you heard the news?" I replied, "No." He then stated, "Jennifer is missing." I noticed the tone in his voice to not be down or somber, but to be more excited. I don't know what to attribute the tone to his voice to. I asked, "When did she go missing?" And he indicated sometime yesterday, 5/24/19. I asked him where he was yesterday and whether he had an alibi. He said he was home in Farmington all morning, then in meetings. He mentioned he had cameras in his house. He immediately asked about the children and wanted me to address their safety. I spoke with New Canaan PD, and they informed me of the investigation involving Connecticut State Police Major Crime Squad. They informed me that Jennifer's home in New Canaan was a major crime scene. The police asked for permission to interview the children, and I authorized the police to speak with them.
The defense did not go down without a fight. On cross-examination, they countered Meehan's testimony about the status of the custody battle leading up to Jennifer Dulos' disappearance.
During in that March 20th order from Judge Heller, was Fotis Dulos allowed supervised custody, supervised visitation?
Yes.
And it was sometimes at Fort Jefferson
It was permitted at that time.
and sometimes in Fairfield County?
Correct.
And in that order, Judge Heller ordered the parties to work together with the guardian ad litem,
Correct.
and that's you,
Correct.
and to come up with some kind of process or timetable to have Michelle and her daughter Nicole to be able to be present during that visitation.
That's correct.
You were still the GAL in May of 2019,
Yes.
and you were still involved with parenting and custody issues related to Fotis Dulos.
Yes.
And part of those, one of the aspects of that was supervised visitation.
Correct.
Were you aware that Mr. Dulos was allowed supervised visitation during that period?
Yes.
Was that supervised visitation a little more flexible during that time period?
Just so I understand the time period, which time period are you referring to?
In May of 2019.
The parties had been communicating a little more frequently and with a little more ease.
With a little more ease?
Yes, in regards to his parenting time.
And were you aware that Jennifer had allowed Fotis to visit with the children at her home?
Yes, I was aware of that.
All right, at 69 Wells?
Yes.
You as the guardian ad litem did not represent Mr. Dulos,
No.
but you had many conversations with him throughout the course of your representation of the children.
Correct.
Was it your opinion that Mr. Dulos lied an awful lot?
The prosecution's case continues to unfold against Michelle Troconis in Connecticut, and of course, we'll continue to bring you the latest updates.